chop all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night Starcraft.
vVv gaming.
Cheese with cheese with cheese with cheese, and until you can't stand it anymore, and then he comes back at you with heavier cheese. In an interview I did with him, he said that most of the time the reason why cheese fails most of the time is you don't apply enough of it. So we'll see whether or not he holds to that as Terran versus Protoss getting underway here on MLG Antigua Shipyard.
Yeah, and we're going to have Rhythm spawning as the dark blue Protoss on the eastern position, and vVv SeoHyeon spawning as the light blue Protoss, the light blue Terran player in the western position, or the teal Terran player. Getting a little bit tongue-tied, but like you said, with Cheese definitely being on the table with Rhythm, this map is pretty good for him as there are forced cross spawns. You know exactly where your opponent is spawning, so you can proxy a Stargate or proxy a Robo or proxy gateways, whatever you feel like doing, and we'll see whether that comes into play.
Yeah, definitely. As right now, we don't see anything too out of the ordinary. SeoHyeon opting to build that supply depot close to his refinery, making sure that the SCV can get back to work with minimal loss in terms of harvesting time. And meanwhile, GoSuRhythm pretty much is going to be going for that economic build, chrono boosting, and getting out perhaps into that 13 probe area before he does warp in a gateway and then perhaps start his scouting. And because it is forced cross spawns on the MLG version, he can afford to do a delayed scout, as he won't be wasting his time looking in all the wrong places.
Yeah, no fear of a wall off with this sort of timing. I know players have tested things out. They don't want to delay that scout too long, as you won't be able to see whether the Terran has gone for gas. And typically gas from a Terran means no fast expansion, and especially in this matchup, we often see just one Rax or one gate expos, sometimes not even a cybernetic score from the Protoss player, depending on the situation, before he gets that Nexus down. So you definitely want to scout in time to know what your opponent is doing, and we do see that SeoHyeon does have that very early refinery, so the barracks on its way, about 2/3 of the way done, and we're going to have Rhythm definitely getting a decent scout on both the gas and barracks timing.
Alright, so we may see some early Banshees like last time, but this is going to be cross-spawn, so the flying distance will still be quite a bit of ways to travel, as some nice, I guess, maneuvering by this probe, able to get back in the base without taking any damage from the SCV, and now already back up to full shields, and now SeoHyeon has to be careful. He needs to pull away with that SCV, as it looks as though the probe once again going to do its fancy driving or fancy floating, getting away, as a Marine will be popping out of that barracks in just a second.
I know some players pretty famous for their probe harass, especially in the early days of SC2, as you do send out that early scout sometimes, even after the 9 pylons. So that costs you in terms of minerals, and if you're able to do some damage, you force an SCV off the line as that probe finally goes down. Force SCVs off the line or do a little bit of damage that another unit can kill the SCV a little bit easier later in the game. It can be worthwhile, and it's worth sending that probe out early.
All right, and we'll see what SeoHyeon's trying to do. He did open up with the tech lab on the barracks, and I thought he may try to transition back into the starport like we saw in Game 2, but instead going for a Marauder. No concussive shells, though, interestingly enough, as he's just training up one Marauder right now. Perhaps it will be followed up with another Marauder, and he will end up being supply blocked if he tries to train up another there, and finally getting the concussive shells.
Yeah, I wonder if he changed his mind on build when he saw that the probe was able to get in, get another scout. The scout did see that there was no second gas, and the factory had gone down. So we'll see what he decides to come out with. He's got one heli and then just a few barracks units right now, and Rhythm playing very techy right now. A Twilight Council and a robotics facility working off just one gate, and this can work especially if your opponent does not go for concussive shells early on, because gateway units just destroy early Rax units if they don't have stim or upgrades. But once concussive shell finishes, these stalkers going to be no match for the Marauders midfield. We see a little bit of an exchange there. A probe send out as well, so hoping to place a proxy pylon or 2 around the map, and with concussive shell done, these stalkers are going to be done as well, and Rhythm definitely going to lose 1 stalker, perhaps even 2, and having a chrono boost out this gateway, he just has 1 gate. This could be scary for him. Yeah,
we'll see what's going to happen here. The Hellions are now trying to back off. GoSuRhythm has to be careful. The Stalker now going to go up under the high ground. The Stalker is dealing some easy damage onto the Marauders, but the Marauders now able to come in, and SeoHyeon opening up with his classic early pressure style, as the warp gate tech has completed. A sentry gonna come out, but it will be a little bit late. Probes now coming off the mineral line, trying to get some damage here. One stalker does go down. There's a force field as the sentry getting in some easy damage, but SeoHyeon dealing terrible, terrible damage here as the Hellions were able to simply walk in, and Rhythm is in trouble.
Yeah, there's an Immortal coming out, which could clean all this up, but how much damage is Rhythm going to take before that Immortal does pop out? Again, he's just working off that one gate. A second gate just now finishes. Can he get enough units to defend against these few Hellions and the Marauder in his base? The Immortal about to pop out is going to start attacking immediately. It does take down the Marauder, but these Hellions still just playing ring around the rosy with these probes, and so many probes have gone down. 25 kills so far for SeoHyeon. It is 23 Harvesters to 5. And looks like SeoHyeon is just going to be able to kill all the probes here. And there's the GG. SeoHyeon takes 2 games in a row to make it 2-1 in favor of vVv.